Welcome back to another edition of Cumberland at Home Summer Edition. Today we're going to go back to a game that you played in the beginning of the sessions. I think it was your second or third video, and it was called Sum Detective. If you remember in Sum, S-U-M, Detective, you had to find like an I Spy game, and you had to find pairs that answered the question of I Spy cards that make a sum of 10, and so on. We're going to add something to that game today, and we're going to play it in two different ways. But before that, I want to make sure that we review how we actually subtract. We haven't done a lot with subtraction. A lot of the things we have done is addition. So before we set up our game and get into the game, I'm going to show you some different strategies that you've learned to subtract numbers. Now, sometimes in this game, you might have a simple subtraction problem, such as 12 minus 6 that you have to think of in your head. If it's a simple problem, you might do a couple of different things. You might count up like we do in addition, but remember when we count up in subtraction, we start with the smaller number and count up to the bigger number. So it would look like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and I counted up 6 numbers. So my answer might be 6. I might choose to make this a friendlier problem or one I'm more familiar with. Remember, we can redo the numbers, but whatever we do, we have to do the same on both digits. So I might say I'm just going to go ahead and subtract 2 from each one because that makes this a 10, which is a friendly number. And then that makes this a 4. And I know 10 minus 4 equals 6 because I'm more familiar with subtraction with tens. So that's another way to get 6. I might do an open number line starting with 6, knowing I have to get to 12, and count up with jumps 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Count my jumps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's if it's a simple problem. Now, in this game, you might see some 2-digit minus 2-digit problems. So let's go over what we do with those. For example, if we had 46 minus 28, there's a couple of different ways we could do this. We could, of course, make a friendlier subtraction problem and make it a little easier on ourselves. And we could, like we did before we subtracted 2, we could add 2 to each number. And that would give us 48 minus 30. And we might know and be able, because that's a 30 and a base of 10, we might be able to quickly say, okay, I know that's 18, perhaps. Or we can do the number line counting up, knowing we're starting at 28, knowing we have to get to 46, and we might make some friendly jumps. If I go 2 from 28, that's 30, that's a pretty friendly number. Jump another 10, that gets me to 40. That's a friendly number. Remember to put what you jumped on top. And then 4, I have to go to 46. So 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. That's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So I have 10 plus 6 is 16 plus 2. I still have my 18. I might decide to decompose my numbers. We've gone over that with addition, so let's see what that looks like if we actually do it with subtraction. I would take my 46, and I know that's 4 tens and 6 ones. My 28 is 2 tens, 8 ones. And then I remember I would subtract both. If I start over here, I know if I have 6 ones, I can't take 8 ones away. So I know that I have to borrow one of those 10s and regroup it over here. So if I take a 10 out of here, that would leave me with 3 10s. I add my 10s as 1s, so 10 ones back to here. 6 plus 10 would be 16 ones now. Now I can do something with that. So let's see what that would look like. 16 minus 8, I know my doubles, and I know 8 and 8 is 16. So 16 minus 8 would be 8 ones. 3 tens minus 2 tens, I know is 1 10. So 1 10 and 8 ones is 18. That's a great way to prove that you have the right answer, is to do it multiple ways. So now that we have reviewed how to subtract, single digits and double two-digit numbers, we're going to go ahead and play the game in just a different way. We're going to play the game Some Detective, but I'm going to show it to you in 3 different options. You can choose to try each option, or you can watch through the video and then decide which one would work best for you and your partner. Or maybe you'll come up with something on your own. Before you play, you're going to need to get a few materials. You want your Some Detective directions. You want your deck of playing cards. You want to make sure you take the jokers out of your deck of playing cards. You're going to need scrap paper and a pencil and a partner. And then if I were you, on one of my pieces of scrap paper, I would make myself a little reminder sheet. If you remember in this game, the ace equals 11, the jack equals 12, and the queen equals 13. A king is 14. So I would write that down on my scrap paper. You might want to pause and then go get your materials and then come back, and I'll show you how to set up the game, and we'll go through the 3 different options. This is going to be option 1. Now notice the game is set up a little bit differently than when we played before. So as I explain the setup to you, you're probably going to want to click the pause button a few times until you get ready to play. In option 1, we're just going to use addition, but we're going to make it a little harder than the first time you played it. So notice I have my little cheat sheet here of what each face card's value is. And I've only used a certain amount of cards. So what I did is I made an array of, if you count with me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you know multiplication, you probably in your head are thinking 4 times 5 is 20 cards. That's right, we're going to use 20 cards. And we're going to play it a little different, and you'll see how that is once we get started. So go ahead and set up your game like mine. Remember, you have no jokers, and you just set them up. Whatever comes up is you put it down. When you're ready, unclick the pause button, and we'll get started. So in option 1, like I said, we're still going to just do addition, but we're going to do it a different way. We're not only going to spy 2 cards that are horizontal or vertical that equal a certain sum, we're going to look for 3. So I'm going to be both players, as I usually am, and I'll show you how this game is played. So if I'll be player 1, and player 1 says to their partner, I spy 3 cards that have a sum of 13. I spy 3 cards that have a sum of 13. So go ahead and let your partner look at it for a little bit. And then they might say, oh, I see them. So 6, make them say the equation, plus 4, plus 3 equals 13. They get to keep those cards because they were correct. Now they get a chance to look and see if there are any other series of 3 that equal 13. Now if they say, no, I don't see anything, go ahead. I'm going to say, well, I see one, so I get to take those cards if I can prove it equals 13. So I know my ace is 11, so 11, 12, 13. So those cards go to me. Now you switch roles. Now your partner is going to say, I spy a series of 3 cards that equal 26. Ooh, these are big numbers. So my partner tells me that they spied a series of 3 cards that has a sum of 26. I've got to look at this for a little bit. Oh, I think I see him. A jack is 12, an ace is 11, and a 3 would give me 26. So I found 12 plus 11 plus 3 is a sum of 26. Those go to me. Now, like we did in the other game, if you want to clean up your deck as you go along, you can do that. Now, I would look and see if I see any other cards that have a sum of 26. If I do, I can take them. If I don't, then my partner has a chance to steal them. Now, the scrap paper is the reason you might want to write down a few of these because they are kind of larger numbers and it does get a little trickier. You can either do this one of two ways. You can either keep like cleaning up your array, or you can choose to use the rest of your cards to fill in the slots and play until the deck is done and then count up your cards at the end to see who won the game. That's option one, with a series of 3 add-ins finding an I Spy. This is how you're going to play option 2. On option 2, we're going to use subtraction. So are we saying I spy a sum? Is that what the answer is in subtraction? No, we're going to say I spy numbers that have a difference of. So in this version of the game, we're just going to go back to our two digits, two different numbers, sorry. So what this will look like is it's set up the same way. I still have my cheat sheet. Player 1 would say, I spy 2 numbers that have a difference of 3. Now remember, when you're looking for difference, you want to make sure that you're starting with the larger number to get that difference. So if my partner says, I spy 2 numbers that have a difference of 3, I'm looking and I find 8 minus 5 equals 3. So I get to take those numbers. Now I also get to go again if I can find another set of numbers that are either horizontally or vertically next to each other and use those as well. So I'm going to take a minute to look because I don't want to miss anything, because then my partner gets to keep them. And I don't think I see anything else. Oh, I hope I didn't miss anything. So my partner says, I don't see anything either. So now I say to them, I spy 2 numbers that have a difference of 4. Give them a chance. And my partner says, oh, right here. Remember, they're starting with the larger. 10 minus 6 has a difference of 4. So they're putting those over to the side. My partner also says, I see another set. 9 minus 5 has a difference of 4. And they're still looking because they want to get as many cards as they can. Now, when they say, I don't see any more cards, if I'm playing this game with only picking up 2 at a time, I might decide that we're going to fill in our missing places and keep playing until the deck runs out and then go ahead and count up our cards. So on the next turn, if it's your turn, you would look for a set of numbers that are horizontal or vertical and figure out the difference and say, I spy 2 numbers that have a difference of, and then you would continue play just like before. Have fun playing I Spy a Difference. Okay, we're ready for option 3. In option 3, we're going to combine addition and subtraction. So you're going to have to be a good listener to play this game. The way this game will work is we're just going to take turns back and forth and kind of just practice. This game isn't really to see how many cards you can get. It's just to practice listening for the correct operation and using your mental math strategies to pick up the cards that you need to. So in this game, you'll take turns. Now, the person that's saying I spy can either say, I spy 2 cards that have a sum of, or they can say, I spy 2 cards that have a difference of. So you have to listen carefully to what they're saying. Here's how the game would work. Player 1 would say, I spy 2 cards that have a difference of 5. The other player might say, okay, I see 9 minus 4 equals 5. Now you can choose to either just play one person takes a turn, then the other person takes a turn, and you're just practicing, or you can play it before like they get an additional turn, or you can choose to add in the spaces because we're just practicing, or you can play this however you want to play it. Player 1 might say, I spy 2 cards that have a sum of 17. So if they said sum, the person would say, oh, 10 plus 7 equals 17. You can either leave them or fill them. Again, your choice completely. I spy 2 cards that have a difference of 0. That one was kind of easy, wasn't it? So you would take 12 minus 12 equals 0. I spy 2 cards that have a difference of 6. 10 minus 4 is 6. I spy 2 cards that have a sum of 11. 9 plus 2 equals 11. I spy 2 cards that have a sum of 24. I know if it's in the 20s, I'm probably using one of my face cards, right? So 14 plus 10 does equal 24. I spy 2 cards that have a difference of 2. 8 minus 6 is 2. Make sure you're saying those equations just to get into that habit, and that'll help with your fluency. So this is just another version of the I Spy game. Okay, we're ready for option 3. In option 3, we're going to combine addition and subtraction. So you're going to have to be a good listener to play this game. The way this game will work is we're just going to take turns back and forth and kind of just practice. This game isn't really to see how many cards you can get. It's just to practice listening for the correct operation and using your mental math strategies to pick up the cards that you need to. So in this game, you'll take turns. Now, the person that's saying I spy can either say, I spy 2 cards that have a sum of, or they can say, I spy 2 cards that have a difference of. So you have to listen carefully to what they're saying. Here's how the game would work. Player 1 would say, I spy 2 cards that have a difference of 5. The other player might say, okay, I see 9 minus 4 equals 5. Now you can choose to either just play one person takes a turn and the other person takes a turn and you're just practicing, or you can play it before like they get an additional turn, or you can choose to add in the spaces because we're just practicing, or you can play this however you want to play it. Player 1 might say, I spy 2 cards that have a sum of 17. So if they said sum, the person would say, oh, 10 plus 7 equals 17. You can either leave them or fill them. Again, your choice completely. I spy 2 cards that have a difference of 0. That one was kind of easy, wasn't it? So you would take 12 minus 12 equals 0. I spy 2 cards that have a difference of 6. 10 minus 4 is 6. I spy 2 cards that have a sum of 11. 9 plus 2 equals 11. I spy 2 cards that have a sum of 24. I know if it's in the 20s, I'm probably using one of my face cards, right? So 14 plus 10 does equal 24. I spy 2 cards that have a difference of 2. 8 minus 6 is 2. Make sure you're saying those equations just to get into that habit, and that'll help with your fluency. So this is just another version of the I Spy game. I hope you enjoyed the different ways to play Some Detective. Remember, you can play any of the 3 options. You can go back to the ones that we did before this, or you can come up with a way that makes it more fun for you. I spy some students and adults playing Some Detective or Difference Detective, having fun with math and a deck of cards. See you next time.